Prior to the introduction of national insurance on the 7th of October 1974, government provided a social assistance program in the form of old age non-contributory pension to those persons who had attained the age of 65. They also provided invalidity assistance to those persons who were rendered permanently incapable of work but under the age of 65. And they provided survivors assistance to the dependents of the breadwinner of the family in the form of survivors assistance. This particular program was funded out of the Consolidated Fund and was administered through the court. And on the implementation of the National Insurance Program, it was grandfathered into the National Insurance Program, and NIB assumed responsibility for its payment with effect from January of 1975. Government continued to fund the program until it was determined that those persons who were grandfathered into the National Insurance Program had deceased. So it was sometime during the early 1970s that government appointed a tripartite committee consisting of persons representing government, employers, and employed persons. And they were given the responsibility to review and to recommend to government the best form of social security for the Bahamas, having regards for the social and economic conditions that prevailed at that time. This committee had the assistance of an expert from the International Labor Organization, and they not only produced an interim but also a final report, which was subsequently approved by the Parliament of the Bahamas and came to be known as the National Insurance Act of 1972. Some months later, 12 sets of regulations were similarly approved by the Parliament that provided the framework for the administration of the National Insurance Program. It was on the 7th of October 1974 that national insurance was introduced in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and in the first instance applied only to employed persons. And some 18 months later, on the 5th of April 1976, it was extended to include self-employed persons. When the program was introduced, contributions were paid based on the first $100 one earned, or the monthly equivalent of $433 per month. It was paid based on a wage group system where there were bands of 10, so there was a set amount paid for each of the 6 wage groups. It was not until the 1st of July 1984 that the insurable wage was increased from $100 to $250 per week, or the monthly equivalent of $1,083. The rate of contribution at that time was 8.8%, which was shared 3.4% paid by the employed person and 5.4% paid by the employer. Over the years, there have been multiple increases in the insurable wage, the last having occurred on July 1st of 2024, when the insurable wage was increased from $740 per week, or the monthly equivalent of $3,206, to $810 per week, or the monthly equivalent of $3,510. There have been 2 rate increases since the implementation of the National Insurance Program. The first having occurred in June of 2010, when the rate was increased by 1%, which was shared equally between the employed person and the employer. This rate increase came about as a result of the introduction of unemployment benefit, which was not a part of the original benefits available under the program. The last increase occurred July 1st of 2024, when the rate was increased by 1.5%, shared equally between the employee and the employer, resulting in the employer's rate of contribution to date being 4.65% and the employer's portion being 6.65%. So the contribution rate today is 11.3% for the employed person. For self-employed persons, it's 10.3%, and for voluntarily insured person, it's 6.5%.